Welcome to another video. We are at day 10 of our marathon, and we are kicking it off with 10 opponents that John Cena has never wrestled. Now, when I say never wrestled, I'm particularly meaning like TV matches, pay-per-view matches. You know, maybe he had a tag team match with these people, or maybe against them, or maybe had a house show match with them or something. We're talking about real matches on TV that everyone's seen, that is publicly available. And yeah, we're going to give you 10 opponents.
Yeah, I mean, John Cena is a man that it's kind of hard to find 10 people that, he has wrestled because he was around for so long, so he'll come in and out of the company. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that, obviously aren't able to make this list, but I do like some of the names we have on this list.
So, kicking this list off with our first one is going to be Samoa Joe. Now, they are known to have had a house show match. You can kind of find some footage of that, but they have never gone one-on-one in a real setting. So, just a crazy match considering that Samoa Joe is one of the greats of TNA and is now in AEW doing great stuff there. And same thing with John Cena. He is one of the greats of WWE, so it would have been really cool to see those two go head-to-head on a big-scale feud.
Yeah, I mean, Samoa Joe, I think, is one of the better heels, and I think him versus John Cena would have made for a perfect match. John Cena usually tends to work better with the bigger men, and I think him versus Joe would have made for some great matches and some great moments as well. And the thing that sucks about it most is that they were around at the same time in the same company. So unfortunately, we never got it. Like you said, you have their house show match, but yeah, unfortunately, we never got that real one-on-one match that I think would have been phenomenal. One of the best matches of either man's career.
Yeah, and then another one that we never got was Sting. I do believe we got a tag team match with him or something of that nature, but we never got a one-on-one match with him. And what a sight that would have been to have two of the biggest baby faces from different eras go off against each other. So many matches with Sting that we didn't get, of course, but John Cena being one of them is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are two of the biggest baby faces. Obviously Sting, when he came back to WWE, kind of aligned himself with the babyface side, that being with John Cena. So yeah, it would have been really cool to see them go one-on-one. But I can imagine it's something that they probably would have did, maybe turning Sting heel, or maybe him just being heel for Cena for some whatever reason. I think there's definitely ways you could have worked around it, but it's something I think would have been a true test of time of seeing Sting in a WWE ring wrestling John Cena.
Yeah, 100%. But a person that is current, that he never wrestled, but is currently in AEW, that is Kenny Omega. Obviously, this is a pipe bomb, something that was never really going to happen, never even really had a chance to happen necessarily, but it would have been something that was very cool to see, something that everyone would have wanted to see, and the match would have been spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, if we're ever doing that 10 wrestlers that they never wrestled, and Kenny Omega is an option, he's a perfect person to have on here. He's somebody who, if he wrestles anybody, he would be able to have phenomenal matches with. Obviously, there's been chances of Kenny Omega potentially coming over to WWE, but unfortunately, obviously, nothing's ever really happened, and things never came to fruition. But yeah, something I think would have been really fun. I would have loved to see whether it's a heel Kenny or a face Kenny. I think him versus Cena would have been a crazy matchup.
As someone who has a long history with Kenny Omega that is also on this list is going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, if you're not familiar with the New Japan scene or anything of that nature, you might not be super familiar about who this is, but I'm sure if you're a wrestling fan, you've seen a picture of him, or you've seen merch from him, or you've seen Go Ace Go somewhere, or you've seen something of that nature. But Hiroshi Tanahashi being one of the greats and sort of the John Cena of New Japan in a way, in kind of a weird way, I guess. It would have been really cool to see those kind of go head to head.
Yeah, I mean, these are, like you said, two of the biggest baby faces of their respective companies. Kind of had the same rise up during a similar time, and kind of also retiring at a similar time as well. So, yeah, it kind of feels like it's something that would have been really cool to have had. Obviously, if this match had happened this year, maybe would have been the best match. Maybe something we would have wanted to have seen maybe like 10 years ago. But, yeah, this is something that I think would have been really cool. And, yeah, it would have been nice to see Tanahashi and Cena match, whether it's in Japan or in WWE.
Yeah, I don't think either of those guys' knees can handle a match with each other anymore. But another person whose knees can't handle a match anymore is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean, Stone Cold was somewhat around during the time that Cena first got in, but eventually kind of called it quits before Cena could really get to the name that we know Cena of now. But yeah, it would have been a really cool matchup. Something I think could have probably happened if Stone Cold was called back for it, if for whatever reason Vince wanted him to have that match with Cena. And I think it would have been a really fun one. Again, two of the biggest baby faces would have been a cool clash, but obviously Stone Cold is always able to play that heel role and turn it up a few notches.
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest baby face of the Attitude Era versus the biggest baby face of the Ruthless Aggression Era, the PG era, the this era, and every era basically since he started. So the fact that we never got that match is a shame. For the sixth entrant to this list, we have someone who I definitely thought that he went against, but never actually did, and that is MVP. Now these are two people who are synonymous with the U.S. title, so I kind of just figured in my head like, okay, yeah, the match definitely happened at some point. They've been in the same company forever. So, yeah, but it never did. No one-on-one matches between the two.
Yeah, I think these two would have made for a fun match. I don't think, it would have been some long-term WrestleMania main event, but I think it would have been made some for good TV. I guess at that point when MVP was kind of rising up the ranks, John Cena was kind of already in the world title picture. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense why, but it would have made, like I said, for some good TV.
But moving on to our seventh one, that's going to be Ric Flair. Now, this is another person just like MVP who you could have swear that he probably had a match with. They've been in the same company for a long time, just as MVP. They were both world champions at different points. They were both champions of different degrees and calibers, and they were at different ages where you could have done like a kind of like a Randy Orton legend killer thing, but the vice versa with a legend trying to take over the young guy. But yeah, there's a lot of things you could have done with Ric Flair. They didn't do any of it. We did see like some kind of tag team match with them, or like a 6-man tag or something of that nature, but we never got an actual feud with John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, Ric Flair was a guy who obviously kind of stayed around for quite a long time and was able to work with a lot of different people in different eras. And yeah, he was around during that Cena era, so it's kind of weird that Cena was never one of the guys to ever get that match out of Ric Flair. But I don't think it would have been an amazing match anyway, but it would have been cool to see, everything that have happened now with John Cena passing him up all these years later. So it would have been cool, but it's something I'm not too fussed about. It hasn't happened.
And keeping on the trend of people who he was in the company with for a very long time and never had a match with, that's going to be Kofi Kingston. Now, this is once again, I'm going to keep saying it, but this is someone who you definitely would have thought that he would have had a match against, but there was no one-on-one matches between the two. I'm sure, they had a lot of interactions with each other, a lot of tag team things, and all sorts of stuff where they have interacted with each other a lot, but never had a one-on-one match with a big long-term feud or anything. So that's kind of crazy for Kofi Kingston, who's been there for so long.
Yeah, well, like you said, he's been for so long, and I guess it makes sense on the paper, considering they were both baby faces for so many years. I guess Vince didn't do too many face versus face and heels versus heels, but I think this would have been a very fun one. Is Kofi versus Cena? Obviously, Kofi's somebody who we wanted to win the world champ for so long. It would have been nice to maybe have an opportunity versus Cena. But yeah, unfortunately, we never got this one, and it looks like we will never have this match. But something I think definitely a little bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but someone who would have had an amazing match with John Cena, and someone who I thought would have been a lock this year to have a match, is Drew McIntyre. I thought going into this year he would have been a lock, a #1 vote to go head to head with John Cena, especially after a CM Punk feud and everything that he has done, but he never got the big payoff or the big moment with John Cena.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those interesting ones where Drew was around for quite a while. He was around in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Then eventually kind of took his little break away and then came back in the mid 2010s. So some of that I think definitely could have happened and should have happened, especially once Drew kind of started climbing up the ranks and getting into that world title picture. But I guess at that time Cena was on SmackDown, Drew was on Raw, so I guess it didn't add up, or line up rather. But yeah, this is definitely one I would have really enjoyed and I think could have made for one of the best matches of either man's career.
And kind of in the same scenario, we have Braun Breaker as our final entrant to our 10 opponents John Cena never wrestled. Now, Braun Breaker is once again another person who I thought would have been a lock, being that he's on this big push right now. He joined this big faction with Seth Rollins. They had the big turn right when Cena turned face, so you definitely could have had that moment happen between the two at some point. I thought he would have been the last time is now turn. There are so many directions and ways you could have made it happen, but they never ended up pulling the trigger on Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I think this one, I think going into the like you mentioned, is somebody who we definitely would have did. But I guess this year they, instead of going with a lot of younger guys, they went with a lot of the older guys and people that Cena has history with. But even Braun Breaker, he does have a little bit of history with, after Cena helped out Carmelo in their match last year between Carmelo and Braun. So yeah, it would have been nice to see them kind of pair up with each other and kind of help each other out. But yeah, unfortunately, Braun Breaker won't be able to have the accolade of wrestling John Cena.
Yeah, and that is going to wrap up our list. That is the 10 opponents that John Cena has never wrestled in a one-on-one match. But we appreciate you guys for watching. This is day 10 of our marathon, so come in tomorrow for another daily video.